In a dimly lit room, the wooden planchette glides effortlessly across the Ouija board, its movements seemingly guided by an unseen hand. For over a century, this simple board, etched with letters, numbers, and the words yes and no, has been a portal to the unknown, a bridge between the living and the dead, or the story goes. But what is it about the Ouija board that has captivated, terrified, and mystified generations? Is it merely a parlor game born from Victorian-era spiritualism? Or does it hold the power to unlock a door to the supernatural? As we delve into the murky origins and chilling tales surrounding this iconic artifact, one question lingers. Are we the ones moving the planchette? Or is something or someone moving it for us? This is the dark history of the Ouija board. The Ouija board originated in Chestertown, Maryland in 1886 and was first manufactured in Baltimore in 1890. Credit for the invention of the board goes to Charles Kennard and Elijah Bond, who were partners in the Kennedy Novelty Company. They sought to patent their creation with the assistance of Helen Peters Nosworthy, Bond's sister-in-law, who was known for her involvement in spiritualism and mediumship. The result was a wooden board that featured a full alphabet, numbers, and simple words, yes, no, and goodbye. The heart-shaped pointer, known as a planchette, would appear to move autonomously, presumably deciphering messages sent from beyond. Their initial attempts to secure a patent had been met with skepticism and outright rejection. A board that could communicate with the dead? It was a preposterous notion, one that patent officers dismissed as mere charlatanry. But Bond, a determined patent attorney, knew they needed more than just paperwork and persuasion to convince the authorities. They needed to prove the board's efficacy in a way that couldn't easily be dismissed. On a brisk February morning, they found themselves standing before the chief patent officer in Washington, D.C. The room was tense with anticipation as the officer, a man of stoic demeanor and skeptical mind, issued a challenge that would make or break their claim. "If this board can't spell out my name," he declared, "a name which you could not possibly know, I will grant your patent." With a calm nod, Bond, Peters, and Kennard took their seats around the wooden board. Silence fell over the room as Peters placed her finger on the planchette, the small heart-shaped piece of wood that would serve as the medium's conduit. The officer's eyes narrowed, his breath barely audible as he watched the scene unfold. The planchette began to move. At first, it was slow, hesitant, as though it were testing the waters between the living and the dead. Then, with increasing speed, it glided over the letters, spelling out a name, his name. Letter by letter, it revealed what was supposed to be a well-guarded secret. The room grew colder, the air thick with a sense of something otherworldly, as the final letter was revealed. The chief patent officer's face turned ashen. He stared at the board, his skepticism shattered. Whether it was the result of Peter's genuine psychic connection or Bond's legal acumen and knowledge of the officer's identity, the demonstration had worked. The man, visibly shaken, could not deny what had just transpired before his eyes. On that day, February 10, 1891, the Ouija board was no longer just a peculiar toy. It was a patented invention recognized by the United States government. And with that, a new chapter in the strange and mysterious history of the Ouija board had begun. By the early 1890s, the Ouija board was no longer a mere curiosity. It was a sensation, spreading like wildfire across America and beyond. The Kennard Novelty Company, once a small operation based in a single Baltimore factory, had rapidly expanded. By 1892, the company boasted 7 factories, 2 in Baltimore, 2 in New York, 2 in Chicago, and even 1 in London. The demand for the mysterious talking board was insatiable, and with it came the inevitable pressures of success. But with success came complications. By 1893, the internal dynamics of the company had shifted dramatically. Elijah Bond and Charles Kennard, the very men who had brought the Ouija board to life, found themselves ousted from the company they had helped build. The cause? The same old adage that has undone many partnerships. Money changes everything. The pressures of rapid expansion and the lure of greater profits created rifts that could not be mended. And soon, the control of the company fell into the hands of a man who had been there from the beginning, William Fuld. Fuld, a Baltimore native with a sharp eye for business, had started as an employee and stockholder in the fledgling company. But with Kennard and Bond out of the picture, Fuld took the reins. Under his leadership, the Ouija board was transformed from a popular novelty into a cultural phenomenon. Fuld's dedication to the product and his savvy marketing strategies ensured that the Ouija board became a household name, firmly embedded in the fabric of American entertainment. Yet Fuld's story is tinged with an eerie twist that seems almost too strange to be coincidence. In 1927, after decades of overseeing the production of the Ouija board, Fuld died in a tragic accident, a fall from the roof of his newly constructed factory. It was a factory he had often claimed that the Ouija board itself had instructed him to build. Whether his death was a bizarre accident or something more sinister, it cast a long shadow over the board's legacy, adding another layer of mystery to an already bizarre tale. It should be noted that Fuld never claimed to be the inventor of the Ouija board, though history would often mistakenly credit him as such, even in the pages of the New York Times. But what he did do was transform the Ouija board from a simple parlor game into a cultural icon, one that continues to intrigue and unnerve us more than a century later. According to lore, the board named itself during a seance. It supposedly spelled out the word Ouija when asked for its name. Some claim the name is a combination of the French and German words for yes, oui, and ja. However, this theory is widely disputed. Other accounts suggest that the name comes from the Egyptian word for good luck, though no such word exists in the Egyptian language. Whatever the truth, the name Ouija has become synonymous with the dark art of spirit communication, adding to the board's mystique and aura of danger. By the early 20th century, the Ouija board had become a staple in American households. Families would gather around the board, hoping to reach out to lost loved ones or uncover secrets from the other side. The board's appeal was its simplicity. Anyone could use it, and it promised answers to life's most profound questions. During World War I, grieving families used Ouija boards to contact soldiers who had died on the battlefield. The Great Depression also saw a rise in Ouija board use. It became a beacon for those desperate for guidance and a tangible link to the ethereal. The Ouija board's strange allure has long captivated the public imagination, and American newspapers have frequently echoed this fascination with bizarre, unsettling tales that blur the line between reality and the supernatural. In 1920, the unsolved murder of New York City gambler Joseph Burton Elwell sent waves through the nation, as would-be sleuths armed with nothing more than a Ouija board and a belief in the paranormal claimed to receive clues from beyond the grave. Their efforts, however, only served to frustrate the police, who found themselves entangled in a web of superstition rather than solid leads. Just a year later, in 1921, the New York Times reported a chilling case out of Chicago. A woman committed to a psychiatric hospital insisted that she was not suffering from madness, but was instead following the instructions of Ouija spirits. These spectral voices had told her to leave her deceased mother's body in the living room for 15 days before finally burying her in the backyard. The case, shocking in its macabre details, further fueled the public's uneasy fascination with the board's supposed connection to the spirit world. The strange stories didn't stop there. In 1930, the residents of Buffalo, New York, were gripped by the terrifying account of two women who, driven by messages they claimed to have received through a Ouija board, murdered another woman. The incident sent shockwaves through the community, highlighting the dangerous power that belief in the board could hold over the minds of the vulnerable or impressionable. Even the U.S. Army wasn't immune to the Ouija's influence. In 1941, a 23-year-old gas station attendant from New Jersey confided to the New York Times that he had joined the military because the Ouija board had directed him to do so. This bizarre enlistment story added another layer to the growing legend of the board's mysterious sway over people's lives. By 1958, the Ouija board had even found its way into the courtroom. A Connecticut court faced an unusual case involving the Ouija board will of Mrs. Helen Dow Peck, who left a mere $1,000 to two former servants, but an astonishing $152,000 to Mr. John Gale Forbes, a spirit who had allegedly contacted her through the Ouija board. The court, however, refused to honor this spectral inheritance, leaving the fortune unclaimed in the physical world. But the board's influence wasn't limited to crime and bizarre legal battles. It also touched the world of literature. In 1916, Mrs. Pearl Curran gained widespread attention for her poetic and narrative works, which she claimed were dictated by the spirit of a 17th-century Englishwoman named Patience Worth. Her friend, Emily Grant Hutchings, followed suit the next year, asserting that her novel, Jap Heron, was communicated by none other than the late Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain, via a Ouija board. While Hutchings' work garnered less acclaim, Curran's success hinted at the board's potential as a creative muse. The most significant literary achievement inspired by the Ouija board came in 1982, when Pulitzer Prize-winning poet James Merrill's epic poem, The Changing Light at Sandover, which he claimed was dictated by spirits through the Ouija board, won the National Book Critics Circle Award. Merrill, however, was more pragmatic about his use of the board, suggesting that it served more as a magnifier for his own creative thoughts than as a direct hotline to the spirit world. Through these tales, some eerie, others outright bizarre, the Ouija board solidified its place in American culture, not just as a parlor game, but as a mysterious force that seemed to reach into the darkest corners of the human psyche, stirring up fears, inspirations, and actions that defy rational explanation. From the outset, religious groups and skeptics cautioned that the Ouija board was not a harmless toy, but a gateway to dark forces. The concept of contacting the dead conflicted with religious teachings about the afterlife, where spirits were believed to either be at peace or in torment, not lingering on Earth. Furthermore, the board's association with the occult and supernatural fueled fears that it was a tool of deception that led individuals away from faith and into spiritual peril. There were early reports of people experiencing terrifying consequences after using the board, unexplained phenomena, bad luck, and even madness. Some believed that the board could summon malevolent spirits, who would then wreak havoc on the lives of those who dared to use it. These warnings, far from deterring use, only added to the board's dark allure. Parker Brothers' purchase of the Ouija board in 1966 brought it into the fold of a major toy and game company, which led to increased production, wider distribution, and more marketing. Selling the Ouija board alongside other Parker Brothers products strengthened its status as a board game, not just a spiritualist tool. Under Parker Brothers, the Ouija board became the best-selling game in 1967, outselling Monopoly. The eerie, real-world crimes associated with the Ouija board didn't stop with the unsettling tales from the 20th century. As time marched on, the board continued to cast a dark shadow, linked to more heinous acts that further fueled its notorious reputation. In 1994, the Ouija board played a chilling role in the conviction of Stephen Young, a British insurance broker, for the brutal murders of Harry and Nicola Fuller. What set this case apart was the involvement of the jury, who, after struggling to reach a verdict, resorted to using a Ouija board to contact the victims. According to reports, the board confirmed Young's guilt, leading to his conviction. When the use of the board was revealed, it caused an uproar and even led to a retrial, but the damage to the board's reputation was already done. It had proven once again that in the hands of the desperate or superstitious, the Ouija board could influence real-world decisions with devastating consequences. In December 2008, a small community of Benton City was shaken by a horrifying double murder that seemed ripped from the pages of a horror novel. Joshua Tucker, a 16-year-old boy with a troubled past, was charged with the brutal killings of 13-year-old Elizabeth Shacklin and her mother, Ellen Laurie Shacklin. The details of the crime were chilling, but even more disturbing was the alleged motive behind it. According to Tucker's mother, Shannon Harrington, her son had been communicating with Satan through a Ouija board in the days leading up to the murders. Harrington claimed that Tucker spent 45 minutes talking to the devil before the entity supposedly possessed him, leading him to commit the heinous acts. She described her son as being in a trance-like state during the murders, watching himself from above as if he were not in control of his own actions. It was like Satan was using his hands, she told reporters, convinced that her son was under the influence of something far beyond his understanding. Tucker's mother painted a picture of a good-hearted boy who had been led astray, caught in a dark and dangerous world he couldn't comprehend. She insisted that Joshua had been a caring and responsible child, forced to grow up too quickly due to her own health struggles and the instability of his upbringing. But the influence of the Ouija board, she believed, had opened a door to something evil that had taken hold of her son and turned him into a killer. The case was further complicated by Tucker's history of mental health issues and his involvement with Satanism, which Harrington said began after he was placed in the foster care system. She expressed her belief that her son would be better served in a mental hospital than in jail, arguing that his actions were the result of a possession rather than premeditated intent. As the trial unfolded, the story of Joshua Tucker and the Ouija board became a grim reminder of the dangers of delving into the unknown, particularly for vulnerable and impressionable minds. The tragedy left a community grappling with the incomprehensible and questioning how a simple game could lead to such devastating consequences. These later crimes, building on the earlier tales of murder and madness, have solidified the Ouija board's place in a history of infamy. No longer just a curiosity of the spiritualist movement, the board has become a symbol of the uncanny, its dark reputation etched into the fabric of modern folklore as a tool that in the wrong hands can unlock the most malevolent forces within the human mind. Hollywood, too, has played a significant role in shaping the public's perception of the Ouija board. The 1973 horror film The Exorcist is perhaps the most iconic example. In the film, a demon possesses a young girl named Reagan after she uses a Ouija board. Since then, the Ouija board has appeared in countless horror films, each one reinforcing its image as a conduit for malevolent spirits. Some of these films include Paranormal Activity from 2009, The Conjuring 2 in 2016, Witchboard 1986, I Am Zozo in 2012, White Noise in 2005, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose in 2005. These portrayals have only deepened the board's sinister reputation. Despite the Ouija board's dark reputation, science offers a different explanation for its mysterious workings. Many think that the psychological phenomenon known as the ideomotor effect is what drives the planchette's movement. According to this theory, the users move the planchette unconsciously, guided by their own thoughts and expectations rather than spirits. The ideomotor effect implies that the board reveals hidden thoughts and fears, which can be just as unsettling as any supernatural encounter. This explanation, however, does little to diminish the board's allure. Even with scientific rationale, the Ouija board remains a powerful tool for those seeking contact with the unknown. In today's digital age, the Ouija board continues to fascinate and terrify. Social media platforms and online forums are filled with personal stories and experiences, with many claiming to have had real encounters with spirits through the board. In one viral TikTok video, a group of friends nervously watch as the planchette moves seemingly on its own, spelling out chilling messages that leave them shaken. On Reddit, users share tales of unexplained noises and strange occurrences after a Ouija session, with some claiming that they were haunted for weeks by a presence they had unknowingly invited in. People then share and reshare these tales, perpetuating the board's dark reputation. The internet has also given rise to new forms of Ouija board usage, with virtual boards and apps allowing people to communicate with spirits online. Despite these technological advances, the core experience remains the same: an eerie, unsettling encounter with the unknown that blurs the line between the natural and supernatural. The Ouija board's history offers several important lessons. It serves as a reminder that even the simplest of objects can carry a profound weight of meaning, capable of evoking fear, curiosity, and awe. The belief in the board's ability to connect with spirits taps into a deep-seated human desire to understand what lies beyond death, offering a sense of control over the unknowable. This power of belief can both be a source of comfort and a cause of anxiety, illustrating how our minds can shape our reality. The board also highlights the collective nature of this need for connection, as people often use it in groups, seeking shared experiences and validation of their spiritual encounters. In this way, the Ouija board becomes not just a tool for individual exploration, but a focal point for communal beliefs and fears, underscoring the social dimension of our quest for meaning in the mysteries of life and death. Today, the Ouija board stands as a cultural artifact that embodies our fascination with the supernatural and our fear of the unknown. As long as there are questions about the afterlife and the mysteries of the spirit world, the Ouija board will continue to hold its place in the shadows, inviting those who dare to seek answers from the beyond.